It's time for Market Explainer, your number one business news podcast. Hosted by Danny and the big man. And it starts right now.
Let's jump into this next story. This was a hoot. Before we do that, of course, as always, there is a sponsor for the segment, and it is my company, Bolo Intelligence. You can go to bolointel.com. Hey, if you have a family car, you got an elderly parent that drives, you got a teenager, are you thinking of getting on Turo, Letgo, or Getaround, any of these different apps to rent out your car? You can learn about the different tracking systems that make sense for you, bolointel.com, and check those out. Bolo stands for be on the lookout, obviously. It's also the only kind of tie I own now. So.
An ex-girlfriend, a person that you met at Starbucks.
Nope. Don't do any of that. None of the systems we sell will integrate on a drop. You actually have to put them into the vehicle, so they're hardwired into the vehicle before.
There you go. Sure.
And if you want to track your ex-girlfriend, here's what you I'm kidding. All right. As many of you know, I mentioned at the beginning of this show that I am.
I'm sorry. Is that a new app that we're developing? Track Your Ex, the Track Your Ex app. That would be.
It's not hard. It's called Apple. Actually, the Apple tags that they came out with. They actually had to come up with. They had to make an update to go. Hey, did you know there's an Apple tag in your purse? Like a little thing.
Really? Like that was a thing that actually had to happen.
Yes, because people were dropping them on.
Just
the number one place where I saw this happening was if you had a Dodge Hellcat, which is I think America's number one most stolen car now. Okay. People were dropping tags on the cars so they could track them to where they go. And so now if you have an iPhone, and if you're like me and you don't have an iPhone, because I'm a free thinker, now apparently it will ding you and say, there's a tag in here, right?
Interesting.
And you have to accept it or reject it or whatever. But they obviously it's easy enough for them to create that innovation and go, okay, there's a problem, we can fix that problem. Nonetheless, it was fascinating to find out it all existed.
Absolutely. That makes sense. Sense. So our last story.
Is Dodge, and you guys know I used to consult at General Motors. Now I've left because I'm going to do this job. And we did a story about a company doing a taco person for
Oh yeah, what did they call it? It was Taco Bell doing it, but they were hiring a taco.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was Taco Bell.
It was Taco Bell.
Expert
what did they?
Or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember what it was.
A couple months before that, there was a wine expert or something that you get paid. So Dodge is accepting resumes for $150 a year job called the Chief Donut Maker.
Donut Maker.
And what you're thinking is sprinkles, chocolate frosted crullers.
I got to tell you, when you first sent me this article, I was like, Chief Donut Maker? Like what?
They can't use the other word that you and I would,
No, I
can't
get
say
it.
they're whipping whatever's out in the park.
Right.
Yeah,
but it makes sense once you know what it is.
Correct. So Dodge has this impressive history as a car maker in the United States. We're market explainers, so I'm going to explain something boring to you. The Dodge brothers used to be the contract manufacturer for Ford. And Henry Ford didn't like that the Dodge brothers drank beer with their employees and all this other stuff. And eventually Ford, the Ford that we know today is the third or fourth version of Ford. The original version went bankrupt, got acquired by General Motors and rebranded as Cadillac and all this other stuff.
Right.
And what's really interesting, what I love about the Dodge brand sometimes is a little less the cars and a little more the story, because I'm a sucker for good marketing and branding. Now, this is a rumor. We don't know this to be fact, but the original Dodge logo, when the Dodge brothers decided they lost the contract from Ford because he didn't like that these guys were blue collar American guys but they were top tier engineers before engineering was something you could go to school and really learn. These guys were just up here making
Sure.
stuff
Shelby,
work.
right? And Shelby partnership with Mustang. And
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So this is the Dodge brothers find out that, you know, that perhaps Mr. Ford is a little bit uncomfortable with the Jewish people. So they made their logo a Star of David just to give him a middle finger. So the
I was
first
unaware
logo,
of that.
yeah, so the first Dodge logo is a DB inside of a Star of David. And you would think, why would they pick that symbol? Right? That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other reasons that corroborate Mr. Ford's feelings on that group of people. I'm not saying that is true or not true. I'm just saying that is a theory that exists out there. So it really just
This falls
me.
under the same conspiracy theories as we were just talking about last episode.
Correct. It
okay,
does, but these are a little less harmful because I mean,
I got you.
But what's fascinating is Dodge is going through kind of the last 5 years, 10 years, they went through this renaissance where they took from their days as Daimler Chrysler the E-Class Mercedes chassis. And there's that episode of The Simpsons where Marge finds some high-end designer dress. I think it's a Chanel dress. And she's wearing it. They get invited to go to a country club. They can't afford a Chanel dress, a real Chanel dress, another one.
Mm-hmm.
It's an accident. So she takes this one Chanel dress and she cuts it up into like 10 or 15 different outfits throughout the episode. That's what Dodge did with the Charger, the Challenger, and their existing lineup of vehicles is literally like they took a 90s Mercedes chassis and just kept going. Like literally, here's General Motors over here going, "Hey guys, I think we could build a huge battery and a skateboard." And then here's the engineers over at Dodge going, "Let's put 700 horsepower in this 90s Mercedes."
Well, look, Dodge almost died, right?
Yes.
So in the automotive, depending on how old you are,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say when the crisis of 2008 happened, the GFC, I was working at a Dodge dealer. And that's when Dodge split Dodge and Ram into two separate brands.
Yep.
The reason they did that, and this was not speculation, this is people from corporate who told us, well, we don't know if we're going to keep selling Dodges, right? We might just have Chrysler, but we don't want to lose the trucks because that's a real segment that we make money on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So continue. You were going to say something?
Well, so they almost died. And then, several times. And then I think it's taken a decade for them to get back to go, okay, what is Dodge? And this kind of ties into that. Manufacturers, and this was when I was young, which was forever ago.
Right.
One of the worst mistakes the automotive industry has ever made in the history of branding, and I still believe this is to today. When I was young,
right,
the brands specifically marketed themselves for brand loyalty.
Right.
You were a Ford guy or you were a Chevy guy. You were a Chevy guy or you were a Dodge guy. You know what I mean?
And for someone my age, the fact that there was guys who were like, man, I'm a Pontiac guy. I don't like them Chevrolets. They're the same thing.
But that's what it created back then, because it's the way it was marketed, right?
Which is smart.
It created brand loyalty, and then through the 80s and 90s, they got away from it entirely, and then it became more about the car instead of the brand. And now you have today's world. So what Dodge has figured out in the last decade, since almost dying out, was, hey, we need to bring back the Dodge loyalty. And how do we do that with good old-fashioned muscle cars and, trucks?
It's wild, though. A 700 horsepower Baja pickup truck that you can just roll up to the dealer and buy.
Ford's doing it with the Raptor 4, you know what I mean? So they figured out that they need to go back to, and like you said on a previous story today, a lot of marketing is cyclical, right? And comes back around. They realize they've made the mistake 30 years ago by going to this, we're going to sell this individual car instead of selling on brand loyalty, because they got into all of these General Motors was making what, 6 different brands of cars at one time,
Yes, and
right? And that
more
kind of
than that,
stuff.
I think. Yeah.
So instead of it being about General Motors, they made it about individual Pontiacs. Individual
Yes.
Ford did the same thing. At one point, they were producing several
brands.
different. Mercury was a Ford product, right? All of
And
these different things.
no, my favorite from my childhood was Merkur, which is just German for Mercury. And they brought over German and British Fords under that brand and sold them at Lincoln dealerships. But it was hilarious.
But to get you to buy that, they had to convince you about the car instead of that it was a Ford product.
It was German. It's not a Ford, but it's a German Ford. Yeah.
So I think they've now figured out that, again, that they've got to go back to create this brand loyalty, especially now that Toyota is really Toyota. You and I did the article about that. It could be the #1 American product car manufacturer by the end of 2022. Yes. So they figured out that they've got to go back to brand loyalty because Toyota never stopped doing that. Toyota, you own a Toyota, you buy another Toyota, you buy another Toyota, and you buy another Toyota.
My dad had a business associate when I was growing up that every 2 years he bought a new Camry, and he just had so many kids and grandkids that there was just always someone who needed a car. And the kind of cruddy part was some of his grandkids are like, yeah, but if he gives me a Camry, it's just going to keep running, right? And so I'll never have the entry point to go, I want something cool. You're just going to end up with a beige Camry. Right. At the end of the day, beige Camry did the job.
Well, and they knew it, right? They knew it. So in this case, to kind of bring this back, so they're hiring a brand ambassador, which is what it really is. Correct. It's a Dodge brand ambassador. The Dodge brand ambassador gets to, of course, go to all these parties or whatever. Yep. And in true marketing fashion, they're going to narrow all of these people, which you've got to make a video, right? And send it in. You got to go to dodgegarage.com. Right. And you could submit your video, right? And it's got a bunch of, you can find all the details.
Goldberg? This is the wrestler Goldberg, yeah? Okay.
So here's the deal. In true marketing fashion, they're going to narrow this down to 10 people and then have a reality TV-like contest with Goldberg, the wrestler, just like The Rock's done this with shows. Several wrestlers have done. John Cena has one right now, Wipeout or whatever he's doing, right? Yeah. They all have these reality TV shows. And Goldberg, if you haven't seen him as a wrestler, he is a massive man. He is a giant.
Big dude.
Big dude. But, so Dodge just came out. Here's a wrestler that everybody knows because Goldberg's been around forever. Yeah. Right?
He did a show 10 years ago called The Bull Run. It was like this reality show about a race across the country. It was interesting. I watched both seasons.
It's reality TV, right? It's real, but so they're going to put these 10 contestants on a reality TV show. Yeah. God knows what they'll have them do, right? And then and it gives them 10 weeks of marketing.
Yeah. Let me tell you this much, right? This Dodge has got, I would guess, $5 million in exposure from this one deal, right? They've got $5 million in free earned media, as I've talked about before on the show, by saying we're going to give somebody $150,000 job, and everything you just described for this brand ambassador to actually get the job, they're gonna extract even more. They're gonna earn, I would guess, $15 to $20 million of earned media by spending probably $2-3 million bucks. That's including the 150 to the actual brand ambassador. Brilliant marketing.
And if it's a decent reality show, they'll make more back on advertising than they did creating the reality TV show because they're insanely cheap to make.
Yes. And this is all on the cusp of, they said earlier or at the middle of last year that they have an electric muscle car coming out in 2023. So this is all going to align with now their parent company Stellantis saying that we're going to go out there, and this, Stellantis is the merger between the French and the Italian company, and the Italians are the ones who own Dodge. So these companies are now this is brilliant marketing on their part, right?
Well, but imagine, look, we're in marketing, you're always trying to innovate, right? Even if
Yeah,
there is nothing new, there's new
right.
ways of doing things. And if this, let's just say this works for them. Let's just
Correct.
say, for argument's
Because,
sake, that
and like
somebody,
we stated at the beginning of this segment, this isn't the first brand ambassador story we've covered. This is by far the most interesting. Now, I don't want to be some
Mhm.
taco pusher from Taco Bell. I don't drink wine. I'm a whiskey man because I'm a man. But I'll
but
be the
let's say
chief
this
donut
does
maker.
work. Let's say
Yeah,
people tune into this reality TV show, right?
yeah,
And let's just say it all works out. Couldn't you see other companies doing this a couple of
yes,
times a year? And
yeah,
then all of a sudden you've got, okay, here's a job at Intel. Here's a
yeah,
job at Samsung. Here's a job at Dodge. Here's a job at Walt Disney. Here's a
yeah,
job at whatever. They could,
yes.
you could feed in an entire network, some random cable network, with just these types of shows, kind of like,
Hey,
Undercover Boss, right? Whatever
whatever.
channel that's
No,
on.
no. Let me tell you something. Here's what, if they were smart, they're just going to put this out on their own media, whatever conglomerate. Like Gary
Mm-hmm.
Vee said, everybody's a marketing company now, right? We're all
Mm-hmm.
just telling the story of our products and services. So everybody's just a marketing company now. If I'm Dodge, I'm not making you pay. I'm just saying go to dodgegarage.com. You can watch the full series there. And this isn't new, right? And then the series comes out on Dodge Garage. And then within a few months, they put it out on Hulu. So then it builds a little more steam that way. So
Mm-hmm.
they keep the ball rolling that way,
Well, and then, like I said, if it works, then you've got all these others. And look, the biggest benefit of this is you get to spend a year not really doing anything but going to parties and opening grocery stores and whatever else you've got to
Whatever
do.
dumb thing they're gonna make you listen.
But you
This
get to
is
drive
this
around in a Dodge Hellcat for the year.
Hey man, screw the 150. Give me a red eye wide body, and that's compensation. I'll do whatever the heck you need. This is literally what would happen to beauty contestants who won, right? This is all you do. Like I'm Miss America for the year, and
Right.
you just go. This is all like you're just a brand ambassador for the 8 companies that sponsor Miss America or whatever, and you get some compensation along the way, and you're just pretty. And so everyone go and vote. I don't I don't know where you're gonna vote for me. I don't even know what like. But
I don't
yeah,
even know if there is voting, but still.
yeah, I'm gonna go do a burnout my mom's front wheel drive Kia, and I'm gonna try to get on the show.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd vote for you, man. I'd vote
All
for
right.
you.
Well, that's the only thing you'd vote for me to do. Hey, before we, you know, end the show today, as you always know, I like to end the show with a tip of the week. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this week's tip of the week, on trend, on theme. I just want to let everybody know: stoplights, stop signs. These are all just suggestions. You don't really have to follow them. And I just want to let you know one last thing: street racing is not a crime.
I'm going to go vote for Danny to join Dodge so that he can quit the show. All right, folks. We'll see you next time.